Wow. So I put out a post on X the other day and 152 of you replied with your teams. I was basically asking for you to submit your teams and I'll rate them honestly and give my opinion on them. And I can't believe the response. So 152 responses. And obviously I can't get through all of them. I do appreciate everyone that did reply, but I can't obviously get through all of them. I will reply to the post, to the tweet with my opinion, but I can't put them all in a video. But for this video, I've selected loads of different drafts. But for this video, this is going to be part one. It's going to be no Haaland drafts. So all of these drafts you're going to see are not going to be including Haaland, but they're all different formations, all different kind of ways of playing and ways of picking the team. And then we'll go through and see how I rate them honestly. There's no sugarcoat in this one. So yeah, if you do like the channel, please make sure you do subscribe, like the video, and let's get into it.
Yo, listen up, Rue is stepping up the game. Where fantasy Premier League runs in his veins. From transfers to captains, he's always on top. Guiding you through every game week non-stop. They say Rue got that Salah flow. Welcome to the channel, enjoy the show. Wild cards, free hits with so much vibe. If you're hunting for success, then make sure you subscribe.
So first up, we will start with the no Haaland with Salah draft. So I've broken this video, like I said, into different sections. This screen is going to be a 3-5-2 no Haaland, but with Salah draft. So we'll start off by looking at the team on the left by James FPL. Thanks so much for submitting your team. We've got Sales in goal with a good fixture against Bournemouth at home. Gavardio, Euro, and Dan Burn in defence. In midfield, a really strong midfield, obviously because of no Haaland. Does allow you to kind of go strong in midfield. Palmer, Foden, Eze, Salah and Brennan Johnson, and then up front Isak and Ollie Watkins. On the bench you got Sanchez, Harwood Bells as the first sub, Barco as second sub, and Stewart as third sub. So the subs are pretty straightforward. I think a lot of teams are going to have these players as subs. Obviously Sanchez, you're hoping that he is going to be Chelsea's #1 goalkeeper. It does look likely that he will be, so very good option on the bench. Other than that, Sales, obviously it does look like he's going to be Forest's #1, and Forest have a very nice start to the season, so I really do like that pick. Gavardio, he is a lot of money. That's the only thing I would say about him. Yes, he's shown that he can get goals, get assists last season, but for me, he's probably a little bit too expensive, so I'll probably rethink that one and maybe go for, I guess, a traditionally more attacking defender. Euro for Man United, Fulham at home. I would be a bit wary with this pick because I'm not too sure he's guaranteed to start. I think if Varane does stay, he probably won't stay, but if he does stay, then he'll probably, I guess, be at least Martinez at the back. And I think Maguire, if Maguire is fit. So I would definitely wait to see if he does going to start with that one. Dan Burn, I think, is a great pick, and Southampton at home is a good fixture to start the season off with. Midfield, Palmer, Foden, Eze, Salah, Johnson. Again, I can't really complain with either of them. Some really nice picks in there. Palmer, City at home, obviously not the best, but we know he can score against anyone. Then you've also got Phil Foden, Eze, both on, well, Foden not on pens, but Eze's on pens, Salah on pens, and then Brennan Johnson with Leicester away. So I don't love that pick, to be totally honest with you, and I've seen a lot of people go for Brennan Johnson, but for me, I think that right hand of the Spurs attack is going to be Kulusevski or Brennan Johnson, and for me, I wouldn't want to risk it when you could go for someone like Richarlison, who is only 7 million, so not much of a price difference. Also, Salah, very good captaincy option with Ipswich away, and Eze, Brentford away, and like I said, Foden, Chelsea away. Up front, again, solid picks. Both had a great seasons last season. Southampton at home for Isak, Watkins with West Ham away. Both good, solid picks, and I don't hate them at all. Obviously, I'll just look at Villa's fixtures are, I guess, not the best leading up to, I guess, the first few games. But other than that, yeah, I do really like this draft. So now on to Joel's team. So Joel's actually decided to start Sanchez. Same with Burn, Robertson and Gavardio in defence. So similar defence, but gone for Robertson instead of someone like Euro. Midfield's pretty similar, but has some differences. So Palmer, Eze and obviously Salah are the same, but Joel's gone for Saka and Gordon instead of Foden and Johnson. So personally, I do think that is a stronger midfield, but up front, Chris Wood and Isak instead of Watkins and Isak. I actually do really like Chris Wood. I think Nottingham Forest has some really good fixtures starting the season. I know they've got Bournemouth in the first game, but then they've got Southampton as well. And for me, the fixtures do look better than Villa's fixtures. It's just I do worry that Awani is back from injury now and potentially could take minutes off Chris Wood. I also think the bench is stronger for Joel, so the team on the right. Konza on the bench, Stewart and Bednarak, and then Fabianski in goal. So Konza can definitely be seen to start in a few games. Other than that, though, they are very, very similar teams. You could argue that it's basically Saka, Gordon, and Wood v Johnson, Foden, and Watkins. And for me, I'd much rather Saka, Gordon, and Wood. I think I just don't really like the Brennan Johnson pick, to be totally honest with you. And as a Spurs fan, I feel like he's not guaranteed to finish every game or start every game. So for me, my favourite out of these two is the one on the right. I'd probably, if I was ranking it in a percentage out of 100, I'd probably give 85% for the one on the left, and I'd give 90% for the one on the right, because you're obviously missing out on Haaland, but you've still got Isak there up front, and you've got Chris Wood you can kind of play with and maybe go for the best striker of that price range that does well. And then the defence is solid. You can probably downgrade Robertson, as I don't think he adds much attacking wise, but maybe go for someone from a less defence and then use the money to kind of build up your bench. But I give that an 88 rating. Both really, really good drafts, and just shows what you can do with the Haaland money. So next we've got another no Haaland with Salah draft, but this one is 4-4-2. And it's Anana in goal, Van der Ven, Gvardiol, Saliba, Mielenko in defence. Then you've got Odegaard, Salah, Anthony Gordon and Morgan Gibbs-White in midfield. Isak and Havertz up front, with the bench looking very, very strong. It's Flecken, Chris Wood, Anderson and Brennan Johnson on the bench. So potentially a bench boost is going to be active for this player. Again, a really, really strong bench, and it just shows what you can do without that Haaland money. And for me, this team is very, very strong, but I've actually decided to pull it into the Fantasy Football Hub AI team rater. So it basically rates your team using AI and gives you a percentage for the team, and it gives you a game week percentage as well. So I've pulled it in and I've optimized it. So this is what it thinks the best kind of formation to play for that team is, and what players to bench, etc., etc. So for this team on the left, so FPL Dan's team, it's decided to start Flecken over Onana. So that is a big, big call. You could argue that Flecken probably has a slightly better fixture, but they're pretty even if you ask me, and they're pretty even in terms of points as well. So 3.7, 3.8 for Flecken. For me, I don't really see that as a massive difference. I think either or, you're pretty much the same. It's decided to start with 3 in defence, and it's actually decided to leave off Van der Ven, which is a massive surprise, because obviously you'd probably think they'd leave off an Everton defender, but Everton are a better defence than Spurs, so decided to start Saliba, Gvardiol and Mielenko. In midfield, it's gone for something a bit different as well compared to the team on the left. So Mo Salah, Anthony Gordon, Odegaard and Brennan Johnson. So decided to bench Morgan Gibbs-White, which is a big, big call. For me, I don't personally see Brennan Johnson as being nailed, so I would probably potentially start him for that first game, but maybe not start him going forward. And then it's decided to start Chris Wood up front, which for me, I think is a very, very good option to go for. You're dropping a defender like Van der Ven and going for Chris Wood, who has a very, very good fixture. This team actually got rated 90%, which is very, very high for Fantasy Football Hub, and then the game week rating was 91. So really, really solid team. Obviously, it goes to show how strong your bench can be without Haaland as well, and potentially use it for a bench boost in game week 1. If you did want to get your team rated free by AI, just scan the QR code or check the link in the description, and you can do that completely free. So next up, we've got 3-4-3, no Haaland with Salah draft. So I guess this formation is probably the most uncommon if you don't own Haaland, because you're now going to have to pick three strikers that are not Haaland, which for me does feel a little bit tough. And I think it kind of shows in these drafts. No offense to both of these FPL managers, but Flecken in goal for the one on the left with Anderson, Konza, and Alexander Arnold. So obviously having no Haaland does allow you to get someone like Alexander Arnold in. Eze, Gordon, Son, and Salah in midfield. Very, very popular midfield for the no Haaland drafts. Isak, Havertz, and Watkins up front. Again, a really, really strong front three. For me, I don't like Havertz as a pick at all, to be totally honest with you. I think him now moving to a forward in FPL, I think it just devalues him, and I think there are better forwards out there. The bench is, you've got Colwell, Bednarak, and Bergville, the new Spurs midfielder, which for me, I don't think he's going to be starting personally, but I completely understand why you'd have him on the bench, maybe just to, I guess, collect the 1-pointers here and there. On the right, we've got Neto, Gavardio, Branthwaite, and Ben White. So gone for a more, I'd say, solid defence rather than an attacking defence. I know Alexander Arnold obviously does most of the attacking for that team on the left, but the team on the right does look like a more defensively solid teams, I'd say. And then in midfield, Salah, Eze, Kudus, and Odegaard. So almost a completely different midfield apart from obviously Salah and Eze. João Pedro up front with Isak and Ollie Watkins. And on the bench, you've got Senesi, Gross, and Kilman. Also, Johnston on the bench for goalkeeper. So really, really, again, another really, really solid kind of squad, which again goes to show how actually good it is to not have Haaland in your team and basically spread your funds out and get a really, really solid, I guess, overall squad. For me, it is a tough one with this one, as there are some pros and cons to each team. You're basically in midfield going Kudus and Odegaard versus Son and Gordon, which is a close call. For me, I'd probably prefer Son and Gordon. Up front, you're going Havertz v João Pedro, and then in defence, you're kind of going Anderson, Konza. I guess having the coverage of Arsenal defence as well. It is a tough one. I don't love the Havertz pick, to be honest with you. That's the only thing putting me off the left one. I think I'm going to have to go for the one on the right. I think having spread the funds over the defence quite evenly with Gavardio, Branthwaite, and Ben White. Solid picks. You can probably play them most weeks, and I think the bench is stronger as well. I'd probably rate the team on the left 84%, and then the team on the right, I'd probably rate it 90%. So both really, really good teams, but I think I just prefer the team on the right because of that bench and because of, I guess, the funds being spread a little bit widely rather than having Son as a premium on the left, having Trent as a premium on the left. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. So now we're down to our final drafts for no Haaland with Salah, and then we'll move on with no Haaland, no Salah, which will be very, very interesting. It goes to show how solid you can build that draft. So the team on the left, Team A, we'll call them, David Raya, Carl Walker, Saliba, Gabriel, Ruben Diaz, Jared Bowen, Bruno Fernandes, Cole Palmer, Fatawu, Mo Salah, Ollie Watkins, João Pedro on the bench with Harwood Bells and Cannon. So obviously a very, very weak bench, I'd say, apart from João Pedro. To be totally honest, I don't really like this draft. I think you're relying on City and Arsenal defenders who are not really attacking. Yes, Saliba and Gabriel can pop up from a corner, but Walker and Ruben Diaz are not really, I guess, known anymore for their attacking threat. And you're tripling up on the Arsenal defence. For me, that's way too much at this early in the season, and Arsenal's defence isn't that great, to be honest with you. I do like the midfield, but I think having Fatawa, a Leicester newly promoted side, in your team when you don't own Haaland, just for me defeats the whole point of not owning Haaland. It means you can get a more all-rounded squad. So I don't really like that at all. I do like the Bruno Fernandes pick though, and Ollie Watkins up front as well. For me, this draft, I think you can do better of a better job of spreading your funds around a little bit more. I think having 3 Arsenal defenders is over the top, to be honest. Even having 2 Man City defenders is over the top. I think maybe you can drop one down to a Villa defender, a Newcastle defender, and then upgrade that Leicester midfielder slot. So for me, I'm going to have to give this team an 81% rating. Team on the right, you've got Sanchez in goal, Gavardio, Alexander-Arnold, Dan Burn, Barco, Son in midfield, Salah, Foden, Nkunku, and Saka. And up front, you got Isak. The bench is not great, to be honest with you. And yeah, so it's not a great bench. Definitely a better bench on the left. But for me, this team looks very, very solid. Sanchez in goal is going to be solid. Obviously, the first game, you're going to have to go through that with playing Man City. Gavardio, Trent, Burn and Borco, very, very good. Obviously, you think that Trent is worth that price, and if you can afford him, I don't hate it at all. Son, I think is a good pick, but I'm just not sure. I hate saying this as a Spurs fan, but I'm not sure he's got it in him to put up them numbers again. And I don't think he'll be playing up front. I think he'll be back out on the left with Richarlison up front if he does stay, or a new striker. So I don't mind it because the Spurs have got half decent fixtures, but I would probably look to move him on to maybe try and afford someone like Palmer, if you can. Again, Salah, great. Foden, a lot of money now, but I completely understand why you pick him. And Nkunku, I think, is an incredible pick. And a lot of people haven't gone Saka, so Saka is going to be almost a differential, probably not, but it's going to be kind of a differential. And yeah, for me, I think this is a very, very solid team. I'd probably give it a 91 rated. I do think it is a solid team. You've spread the funds well. The midfield's really, really strong. The only thing I'd say you probably need to improve on is just getting another, I guess, striker that is half decent. Maybe a Chris Wood if you can. Maybe you can do that by downgrading someone like Son to maybe a James Maddison. Maybe that could help. But other than that, I do really, really like your team. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. So now for the drafts with no Salah and no Haaland. We're looking at this 5-4-1 draft, which we rarely see in FPL. So I really wanted to highlight this one. Sells in goal, Dan Burn, Gavardio, Pedro Porro, Muniz and Saliba in defence. Palmer, Foden, Bruno Fernandes, Odegaard in midfield, and Ollie Watkins up front with a really, really strong bench. Potentially a bench boost is going to be active with this team. I can definitely see why this person has done that. So Nkunku, Leno, Muniz and Daka on the bench. So really solid bench. So this team really, really interested me. So I wanted to pull it through the Fantasy Football Hub AI team rater. And it's come up with a team rating of 85 and some few, I guess, suggested squad changes. So it is recommending to go for a 4-4-2 with this squad. Leno obviously stays on the bench as well, which I think is either or, to be honest. I think Leno is going to make a lot of saves against Man United, but you're going to have to favour the goalkeeper that has Bournemouth at home. Muniz drops to the bench, and Nkunku stays on the bench, and then Daka stays on the bench. But actually, Muniz does come in to start against Man United, and then go with 4-4-2, and then Foden captain, whereas in the original team you did have Watkins captain. So it is 85% team rating, so a pretty good rating with an 82% game week rating. So maybe the team's not solid for this game week, but for the next few game weeks it does look very, very solid. I don't mind this team, to be honest with you. I think you can probably drop one of the defenders to a 4 million or 4.5 million defender, and then maybe upgrade someone like Muniz or Daka. But other than that, I think the team's very, very good, and I can see what great things you can do with the Haaland and Salah money. If you do want your team rated by AI as well, just scan the QR code on the screen or check the link in the description, and you'll be able to do that for completely free. Let's move on to the next draft. So we're now on to a 3-4-3, no Haaland, no Salah draft. So this draft's actually pretty similar, both of these drafts. Both have Raya in goal, both have Gavardio, both have Eze, both have Palmer, both have Foden, both have Watkins, Both have Solanke, both have Isak. So very, very similar drafts. And to be honest, I really do like these drafts. Obviously, the front three are both the same. We know proven goal scorers from last season. Both teams, like I said, have the same striker. So really solid there. And by going no Haaland, it does allow you to get, I guess, a higher level of all three strikers rather than having to get one cheap striker. So very, very good there. Midfield, both teams again very, very solid. It's kind of Saka versus Gordon, which on paper looks like a mismatch and could be a mismatch, but I think Gordon does start the season with better fixtures. But for me, I'd probably just rather Saka because you've already got Isak there covering the Newcastle attack. In defence, Gavardio again the same. You got Trent on the right, and then Dan Burn on the left, and then Mykolenko on the left, and Anderson on the right. So really, it's Burn, Mykolenko, and Saka versus Trent, Anderson, and Gordon. It is a tough call, but I think with the uncertainty around, there's no uncertainty. I just think there's uncertainty around Liverpool at the minute with a new manager. We've never seen Trent play good under any other manager but Klopp. For me, I'd probably stay clear of him for now. So I'd have to probably give this draft to the team on the left. I'd probably be rating it around an 88. I think it is a very, very good draft. Probably take it to an 89 if, to be honest, I don't. To be honest, I've changed my mind. It's a 92% draft. I've just seen the bench. The bench is very strong. Hudson-Odoi, Fires, I think, is a very good option for 4 million for Leicester, and then Harwood Bells. So for me, that does take it to 92. And then one on the right, I'm going to give that an 89. I think the bench is still solid as well. I just think they don't obviously have an as good midfielder on the bench. I know a lot of people are going for Rodgers, but I think it's a bit of pre-season hype. Anyway, let's get on to the next drafts. So now we're on to the 3-5-2, no Haaland, no Salah draft. So this draft, I actually do really like it. I think it's a decent draft. There's some minor things I'm not too sure about, but we'll go for it first. So David Raya in goal, Martinez, Dan Bird and Van der Ven in defence. To be honest, I don't love Martinez, but I think at that price point, you can't really go wrong. But I personally would wait and see how Man United are going to be performing this season. And Dan Burn, I really like. Van der Ven, I'm just not sold on Spurs' defence. I know we could see that change, but for me, I'd want to see that first because last season was not good. Midfield, very, very good. Saka, Foden, and Nkunku, Son and Palmer. And then Watkins and Isak up front. That is kind of the, I guess, stereotypical thing you'd do if you didn't have Haaland in your team. And now, especially with no Salah, you can definitely afford them too. The bench, Mykolenko, Fires and O'Mahony, if I'm saying that right. And then Danny Ward, goalkeeper. So I did put this team into the AI team rater and it came up with a pretty decent score. So 85%, definitely room for improvement. Game week rating was 85% as well. So obviously the one bringing that down is Van der Ven, with only predicted 3 points for game week 1, and then Nkunku 2.5. But I feel like with Nkunku, the more pre-season kind of happens and the more he gets more minutes, then that will go up and the team rating should go up. It's actually changed one player, so it's dropped Martinez to the bench and started Mykolenko. I think that's a good decision considering Mykolenko is definitely more attacking than Martinez, and to be honest, I think Everton are a better defensive team than Man United and probably have a better fixture-ish, I'd say. Obviously, Man United at home as well, but Fulham and Brighton are probably around the same level, and we don't know if Brighton's new manager is going to be like. This has also put the captaincy armband on Cole Palmer. I actually don't think Cole Palmer is the best captaincy option. I'm not sure if that was default or not, but I like Isak and I think that's probably the way to go for. If you did want your team rated by AI, again, scan the QR code, link in the description. If you'd like this video, please smash a like button. It does help me out a lot and it's obviously completely free for you. And subscribe to the channel if you are new. Again, that helps me out a lot and allows me to keep making this this content and keep making more videos. If you haven't seen it already, I've got a best goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and forwards video out. If you did want to sign up again to Fantasy Football Hub or just get your team rating, the link's going to be in the description. The team rating is completely free and they're doing a 50% off memberships at the minute as well. So definitely go check that out. If you do register with that link, it does help out the channel again, and I am thankful for that. And I'll catch you in the next video.